Okay, hey everybody, this is Grace, and I'm going to do this probably very stream of consciousness side because I am truly troubled. Oh my. So if I flip between all of it, be prepared. I usually do. But I have not been able to sleep but maybe 2 hours since sometime yesterday, and I couldn't sleep the night before either. So I slept during the day here and there. It's like a couple of hours at a time because I'm so bothered by these healthcare providers I have seen since my whole life, for one, and I'm not trying to be dramatic, but especially the past few years, since 2023 or 2022. 2022 is really when some of it, the current thing started. But what's bothering me today is I found out more yesterday, and I even looked it up again today. And this one is that, I've been to the ER. They told me to go to one particular ER back in last year, early last year. I guess it was March. And I've been there 4 times. They said anytime I have this shortness of breath, go to this hospital. Well, I've had pneumonia, and I will have shortness of breath. I have walking pneumonia when I do. I've had it since I can remember. I can remember my university doctor, telling me it was walking pneumonia and that I should be using, I don't know if they called them back then, maybe it's the word nebulizer or something. That's what she did, and I felt so great, man. After she did it, I just felt so wonderful. And I've had them since I was a kid. Well, there's more to that about going to that one, a whole bunch more. Whole bunch more. Why does everything within these, and it's not just this one system or network or a group or whatever they call it. No, it's been in all of them. There has to be so much drama. There must be. And yeah, you could say, well, maybe it's you. No, it's not me. What do they all have in common is you. No, what they all have in common is they're doctors. In doctors' offices, and their staff, and drama queens and drama kings. That's what they have in common. They have in common is themselves. Yeah. And so don't mind that crap. Somebody says, well, what do they have in common is you. No, it's not necessarily you. It's a system. I know I'm not the only person who's done it because, like, I just recently got a letter in the mail last week, basically saying, in a very nice way, to where they wouldn't get sued, that there was a doctor who was basically probably told to resign. They gave her the option to resign, probably. I don't know for certain, but I'm a social and behavioral scientist. I have a clue. And I did look it up. I did Google it. And it basically said probably, or that it could be a chance, and yeah, because these places, they put it in such nice terms, so like I just said, they won't get sued. But she was bad. She was doing something that is unethical, according to, and I'm not going to name what they are, the big wigs. Okay, I'm just going to put it that way. No, it's unethical, and it's patient abandonment, and, for her own financial goals, and there's so many. And I'm not even in medical. I'm not a guru on any of this, but I knew it. And I was taught some things in graduate school about, about these things, but that doesn't make me a voice of authority on it, okay? But I was taught some things by professors, okay? So, plural. So, anyway. So I have a clue. I wasn't born yesterday even. But anyway, some of them get fired. Another one I called, the young woman, she was very young. She was so happy. She was an MA. Answered the phone to let me know she no longer works here. It's just the way she said it. All of it around what he said then and what she said later. She let me know the woman got fired. She needed to be fired. She was the one who was supposed to let me, she was going to show me, but I was going to do it my first time to take insulin. My very first time, I was supposed to do it. Where her head was, who knows? But there were three people in there. I guess two were MAs and one was maybe some nurse or somebody doing their internship, and the other ones would have been doing their what they call externship. And she did it wrong. I said, that's not where you do it. My dad was on insulin, and I know that was not where you do it. And she said, yes, it is. And I told her, I said, I was supposed to do this. You know, she was young. She was very young. She was a PA. Where was the doctor? I had only spoken to the doctor during 2020. You know, when they weren't seeing people, they were only doing it over the telephone, telemed. For very briefly, I mean, just like boom. And I remember telling Adam, there's something strange about it. It could have actually been a recording. Because, I mean, you might think I'm being paranoid, but the police officer, I had to speak to them. I don't even remember why. Really don't. You know, it was something that happened. And I don't remember. It was a few years ago. And the police said, wait a minute. What did you just say? And it was something I said innocently. Okay, because I'm not. And he said, what's the name of this again? But basically, there was a PA, which is a physician assistant, but they didn't have a physician. And every time I would schedule for to see the doctor, they would come up with an excuse. By the time when I got there, they would say some excuse why I couldn't see her. It was all very suspicious. Plus the name, it was too much. It was way too much. But so, as I told you, I was going to do stream of consciousness. Plus, right in the middle of talking about that, there was somebody walking across somebody's yard over here that doesn't live there. Now I'm being the one that's the one of the neighborhood watch people. It was weird. So, and I've always wondered, there is a house. I'm going to stream of consciousness too. There's a house, and even Adam says he doesn't know how it happens, but people are coming from behind there. So there has to be some kind of gate or something, and they park somewhere here in the neighborhood. And I'm not born yesterday. I've seen them do this thing of people driving up to a car. Yeah, but there's no way you can prove it. Anyway, move on. I've got a lot of stuff to talk about. Not being able to sleep and all that. Oh my goodness. Because of this stuff. But let's get back to this about the ER. That was the second ER in this system. And they didn't tell me that I was going to the wrong ER. The first one didn't tell me. Why are you until way late? Like, I'd been there several times. Even was there overnight. You had to stay. You know, admitted for one night, 24 hours. And didn't tell me. And the doctor finally, like the next 2 times later, he said, you shouldn't be coming here. You should be going. I said, why didn't you tell me this all along? All these other times. Why did you not tell me? And he said, well, you know, kind of like shrugged. And there was a nurse there who had dementia. I'm not kidding. Just like the original one I had when I didn't have health insurance, she had dementia. She resigned. Resigned. She had dementia. She was getting really bad. She was my age, and this one was my age. Okay, and it was really bad. And she said things like, I called from the pharmacist's office, and pharmacist had told me that you can't do this. You can't take these pills together. And so he said, he suggested I call him. And I did right there. And I told him what she said, the nurse that I had seen, because you can call him within a certain amount of time, And what she said was, well, just stop taking your blood pressure medication while you're taking that other pill. I think it was an antibiotic. And I said, no, I'm not going to do that. Quit taking my blood pressure medication? No, I'm not a voice of authority on that. And so, but the pharmacist was, and I know, pharmacist agreed, that I do not stop taking blood pressure medication, okay, for that. And for anything, you know, unless the pharmacist or the doctor. You know? Oh my gosh, I'm telling you, I've been through so much. And I've made videos on a lot of it, but not everything. Not everything. Oh my gosh, there were so many things. But anyway, back to that doctor. So they told me, you know, the next one was my physical therapist. She said, you need to see your doctor. I called my doctor. I think this is how it happened. Doctor's office, and they said, well, somebody would get back to me. Nobody got back to me. I fell asleep waiting at home, you know, and fell asleep. When I woke up, I said, okay, you know, tell myself they didn't call. I'm going to go to an urgent care. I went to this urgent care, and the nurse, you know, I was going, couldn't breathe. And there was nobody out in the waiting room at that point. And somebody, nurse or PA, whoever it was, came out, and she says, I'm not trying to be mean, but we're not gonna see you here. You need to go right to the hospital. Seriously, you need to go right to the hospital. And so I walked out of there. I was in dazed and confused. She said, you need anybody to come get you? And I said, no, I drove myself here. And I could drive. I mean, I can drive no matter what, because I've been driving so long, I guess, 47 years. But 48 years now, isn't it? But so I was sitting out in the car, you know, my SUV, and I said, which hospital though? I don't want to go back to that one because the guy just told me, you know, I'm going to the wrong hospital. So I called that hospital, and the woman who answered it, she said, you know, they transferred me to a nurse, I think, and she said, Google it. I said, did you just tell me to Google it? I said, what is your name? Sometimes when I get that, what, like that woman told me to move out of her way in the store. Stand in line and wait your turn. I'll get real stern and firm. But I said, what is your name? And she told me it was the name you just kind of don't forget. And she said, well, you can just Google it. Again, find out, Google it. So I hung up and I called another one, and it was a guy, and at first he said, well, and I said, so I got her name. He said, no ma'am, you need to go to this hospital in the system. This is the one you need to go to. So he told me which one to go to. Okay, and I went to it, and it made sense. But what I didn't find out until yesterday, basically yesterday, and I was looking, and I don't even remember because I look up so much because of this stuff. I think I was just looking to see if he had a profile, you know, if he had any reviews. And no, I think it was that I was looking up the last name, okay, or something like that. Okay. Anyway, so there is no such doctor. I was like, what? No one here in this part of Texas, nowhere, with that name. His name, I know his name. I was looking up his name to see a country of origin, because I had 2 of this and 2 of this, and they were all 4 of them were very similar. It was fun. It was funny. It really was. And it said no doctor. He's a specialist. No doctor with that name. So I had to dig deeper and deeper and deeper, and I found out he was not a specialist, not in that field. I'm like, what the crap? Nobody told me. They tell me to go to that hospital. It makes sense for me to go to that hospital. But they didn't tell me he's not a specialist. How would I know that they're not? And then neither is the other one. Nobody told me. None of these, you walk in and boom, they hit you with so much stuff. Here, take your clothes off, take your, you know, and you're like, whoa, hold on a minute, hold on, wait. Let me just take a breath here. You know, when you have shortness of breath, and they're having you, you know, take this part of your clothes off and take this, and then the other one's putting an IV in, and the other one's doing your blood pressure on this side, and then they're talking to you about, you know, what's going on, and there's like 4 or 5 of them in the room doing different things, and you've got shortness of breath and you can barely breathe, and you just, whoa, You know, that's so how it is. And so many times, not just that particular hospital. But I just found that out yesterday, and that made me think they should have told me, because that is, I don't want to call it a game changer, but it changes a lot of the information from then. It changes so many things that I mean, I should not have to sit there and think about all these. What's going on, behind the scenes, and why they're not telling me what this doctor does or that doctor does, or none of this stuff. You hear places, they say, well, it's full disclosure here, or this, that. Those is practically no disclosure. And like this, I don't know. I don't know if it's because, I would think it's because I have, I'm in Texas. See, why would I have to assume? Why would I have to try to figure it out? Because they're not going to tell me. Okay, like I said, I've said so many times before that here I live in this of course I live in a county with people from other part of Texas, from this whole system, the insurance and all, hospital systems and all, and that's not the only one. There's several of them. But from another part of Texas would call me. One of them would be like a triage nurse. Okay, and one time I was real sick, and I don't even remember now. I don't, because I've said so too much with all of these things. Too much. Way too much. And I can't remember all the things of and which is why I'm glad, every situation, which is why I'm glad I do videos. Some of them I don't make public, but I still don't discuss everything, don't talk about everything. But anyway, apparently there's more than just the triage nurses that are, and none of them, I'd ask them, well, why are you calling? They wouldn't answer. They if you've ever been to a hospital system where they are really, really well trained in avoiding to answer any of your questions. I was in a different system in 2023, and they were like experts at it. So the double talk BS, skirt the issues, crickets, doing all roundabouts, all this, on and on and on, to where, like, Adam was with me the second time. It was 3 times I was in that hospital. And Adam was with me in the room when the doctor came in the second time. He was there with me, the hospital, but he wasn't in the room till the middle time. Second out of 3. And when the guy left, the doctor said, did he say anything? Anything? Because it was all BS. It was all talk around. He wasn't going to say anything. He wasn't going to commit to anything. Okay? He wasn't going to put his John Hancock even verbally. Okay? Just, they will not do it. Won't. I mean, I am not born yesterday. Nobody needs to explain that one to me either. But I should, and nobody should, be needing to try to figure out, why? Why? They're supposed to be doctors. They're supposed to be professionals. They're supposed to be able to tell you what's wrong with you, instead of just leave you hanging. I'm still hanging. No, wait, I better not put it that way. I'm still waiting. I'm still waiting to find out what was wrong with me in 2023. One doctor, the only one I like, he said it's probably associated with your rare health condition. It's probably that. I don't think he said probably. I think he said it's associated with that. He's 50, I think, 50 years old, somewhere around there. I've learned that the ages that you Google and it says they're wrong, but sometimes not Google, but sometimes they're on their profile. Like one of them, the one that was a crazy woman, put her finger in my face, and then in Adam's, and she was a doctor. I never went back. We knew he was just there with me, so we never went back, like that. But I saw her. I was trying to find her, and I looked her up, and I couldn't remember her name. I actually had her name backwards, because it was the name I thought was her first name was actually her last name. And hey, I'm one of those people, so I know how it goes. Last name first is the first name also. So yeah, and yeah. So but I found her. Yes, I actually asked my insurance company. I have a feeling that she got kicked out. She no longer is allowed to, because they couldn't find her, that she's no longer allowed to practice. She got kicked off the network. What they call it, in network. She got kicked out, or she was told to, or she retired, or she was also like that other doctor that was bad, but not the same field, by the way, and not the same specialties. I keep calling them specialties. Specialization, would you call it? Yeah. No, but I think she did. I think because she was so horrible, and the way she said my insurance, and that leads me to, that segues into this. When I'm finding out, I have really good insurance. I mean, it's amazing how good it is in Texas, and through the marketplace. I try to get it, through a broker. Oh my! You want to talk about being harassed? Oh my! It was unbelievable. But to jump ahead, and I shouldn't have to be questioning all this, and even suspecting all this, but I am a person who knows I'm a social behavioral scientist. I know it's much easier for people like me, anybody, to say, oh, they're not doing anything wrong, than it is to say, oh my goodness, listen to this is crazy, like that. I am one who wants to, okay, I'm losing my voice again, but I'm one who thinks in those terms too, because I'm overwhelmed. I'm overwhelmed by what I've seen so far and found out, and was even told, like, by one, and I don't think he is not a nice guy. I know he's not a nice guy, and as I found out, saw him only twice. Adam was with me both times, and Adam told me which country that the guy's from is next to where Adam is from, and they don't really like women that much, as far as seeing them as somebody who should be speaking. He's the third one I've run across. Third. And this is Adam telling me. Adam is from a country across the globe. Adam would know. No, I wouldn't know. Adam does. I'm a social and behavioral scientist. I don't think like that so much, but I know the difference with culture and all. And he said, no, this is how they see women's place, women's roles, women's voices, women's everything. So he gave me a heads up after the fact. And Adam didn't say anything. Both times, really, not to the doctor. He said things to the nurse. But to get to the long and short of it, it's because I have such great insurance. Before I didn't have insurance, they weren't going to treat me. They weren't going to tell me anything in 2023. Once I got insurance, oh my goodness. And I'm not new to this world, so please don't tell me. But oh my goodness, to find out that what they were wanting to do really is to get as much as they can off my insurance. Duh. The very first doctor I had when I got the insurance, well, the very first practitioner, it was a nurse practitioner. That's who it was, very first. She charged up, it was a nurse, and with including her visit charge, it was around $1,000. She didn't talk to me about that. I reported it right away. It was unbelievable to me. I had no problem with her when I saw her, but then when later on, when I found out what I didn't have to pay anything, by the way. See how great my insurance is? She charged up $1,000, I didn't pay anything. My copay for the visit was $5, and that's all I paid. I don't pay for medicines at all. Nothing, $0. That's what I paid, $0. There's no such thing as paying $0. There's no pay, no charge. And the very first one did that, and then after that, let's see. After that was, who was the doctor after that? But anyway, a doctor. First doctor maybe or something. Same kind of thing. And so, no, yeah, the first doctor was one that was in network, but not with the system. And he was one I'd already seen one time before I even got the insurance. And then when he found out that I was getting the insurance, I was talking to him. He said, "Wait." And he pushed his hands, like pushing aside all the words I just spoke. I said, "Forget everything you just said," and pushed them aside. Like, really. And he said, "You said you have insurance?" His eyes got real big, like he was hearing cha-chings, like people say. Oh, his eyes go, "Oh, then we're going to run a lot more tests. It starts in January. Oh, we're going to run so many good tests, so much more extensive tests," like the other guy said, extensive tests. And we're going to, and this is a guy who had told me, it was the second guy. First guy told me, he just met me and told me that doctor, that's a guy, that I can only speak in one-word sentences. And this was Adam's doctor. Adam was with me. He didn't say that to Adam. The second one was this guy, pushing away aside my words, was actually pushing his hand like he was going, that would accomplish that fact. When I first met him the first time, I never went back to him. I went to his nurse practitioner, but after that, she messed up too. But he said, he asked me something like, when they come in, they say, "Well, hi, I'm, what are you here for today?" Or however they put it. And I started to answer, and I said, "Well, I'm here for it." Boom. He cut me off. And he kept doing that, cutting me off. Which I got the picture. And then this third one. And like Adam told me about all of them. Okay. And that's a cultural thing. That's not a stereotype. That's a cultural thing. There's a difference between when it actually is written in their laws. Written in their laws too. Okay? Like the women have to ask permission from a male husband or family member before they can travel. Or when they're in court, their word is only considered 50% of what it would be for if a male said it. So if a male is against a woman, who's going to win? I don't know how it works, how the whole works, but is that what it means? But anyway, so it's written in their laws, some of it. And they're going to come here in Texas? I've already mentioned this before. In Texans, women don't take BS off of, they don't tend to. That's a cultural thing. Okay? And you can look it up even. But, and why? You can go through all that yourself if you feel like it. Anyway, you look through it. But anyway, he pretty much let me know. Like I said, he wasn't a nice guy. But the words he said, Adam was there with me, verifying, and he, said he heard the same thing. That in a roundabout way, they don't say exactly this word, but what it means. And Adam and I can see two different things. And what he meant was, they're using me for my insurance card because my insurance is so good that they know that they're going to get paid. Okay? Because I have great insurance. covers so much of the cost, that kind of great insurance. You know, I mean, I really don't have much that I have to pay ever. You know, seriously. And I was last year 4 times in the ER. And I think, I don't even know how much. I think I paid the out-of-pocket part, which isn't that much. I don't even have a deductible. Is that what it is? It's been a while for me. But, and until they changed it this year, I paid nothing. And then, except for a $5 copay. And now I pay a $10 copay for a visit, but I don't pay it for some things like I used to last year, year before, and all, you know. So, like, one of them I have a 0 copay. It's interesting. But anyway, because I have such great insurance that pays so well, they want to use it up. I'm not new to this planet, but it wasn't something that, because of what the you know, that phone call that I, you know, it was mysterious. Like I said, it could have been a triage nurse, and then she wanted me to speak to somebody who worked where, I don't know. I was sick, I was ill, I didn't write it down. I didn't question. I was just shocked that they wanted to transfer me to this woman. And what she started saying right away was, these doctors aren't doing these things right. Not all of your doctors are doing these right. And I'm just like sick, you know, at home, not very well. I think that was the situation, because I was sick, you know, a few times. And hearing her, she's mumbling some legal jargon, which I used to do. I used to work in medical billing and collections. You know, there's coding, billing, collection. I don't know what to call them nowadays, but I was not one to code. I knew how to, but I wasn't one of the coders, and I wasn't one of the billers. It's so deep when you go into all that. But I'd heard this terminology. I wasn't one responsible for that, you know, on my side of it all. But you never know. In that field, you never know if it was actually you're also supposed to be checking and nobody told you, because they want you to speed, hurry, do fast. You never know. And you wonder why I'm cynical. I have become extremely cynical. Extremely, after dealing with all this. Oh my. And anyway, that's why I'm out here wanting to get this video out, because I can't sleep, because it's going over and over in my mind. And it's kind of a good thing, because I am seeing and figuring out things more and more. They don't tell you who this doctor is. They don't tell you the doctor doesn't tell you that, hey, you need to go to this hospital. You go to this hospital, they don't tell you that the doctor isn't a specialist that you need to see. I mean, the list goes on. The things that they are leaving out purposefully, or maybe they just don't care. They're just not doing their jobs. Who knows their purpose of why they're not exposing. Now I forgot the word I was trying to use. They're not being transparent on everything. Really. I mean, if I knew some of these things, there's so many things that would be different at this point. But after all that, I might have to divide this up right here. Might be too long, getting too long. But today I had this thought, and I told Adam, next week I have 3 appointments. 4 things. Yeah, no, wait. I have 3 things next week, 3 appointments. And then the week after that, I think I have 3. Okay. Anyway, I told Adam, I said, he's going to go with me to the first one. And I told him, I said, I don't want them bringing up like that, like happened before. You know, I go to a visit and the guy aggressively, Adam was there. He knows I'm not lying. He was there, and he was witness to this. The doctor was so aggressive. Not assertive, aggressive. He wanted to talk about why I wasn't seeing the other doctor. It's none of his business. And the insurance isn't going to be paying for him to chastise me for not seeing his friend, his partner at work. No, that's not why I'm there, and I let him know it. And he didn't like that. He kept pushing. So it goes on from there. Okay. But I told Adam, I said, from now on, I knew it was going to start raining. We had such a terrible storm this morning. Oh my gosh. But anyway, I told Adam, I said, please try to help me stay on task with this, help me stick to this, that whenever I see this one, this is going to be a nurse practitioner. I said, and I read the reviews. One person said something about her that I went, well, join the club. That's what they all do. But I told him, I said, I'm going to, whenever they start to say something, if she tries that, I'm going to say it very clear. I don't know what these people are. It's not, I'm a social and behavioral scientist. I'm not a caseworker. And it's not a caseworker. It's not really a case manager. They use and I think it's because I have this great insurance, okay, that they're doing this. The triage nurse and whatever this other thing is, they have more than one thing, and they keep tabs on the account, and something red flagged them. Okay, there was a red flag, and it had nothing to do with me. I have no idea what it is that raised a red flag, waving kind of crazy at this person. So I told Adam, I said, whenever, they, if she does that, I'm just going to say something very simple. Well, you can talk to the case manager. I don't know if that's what it's called, whatever it's called. You can talk to the case manager about that. Not me. I don't work for you. You see, I don't work for them. Whatever, or just leave it right at. You can talk to the case manager. But I started thinking more and more about that. I could see, and when I do that, when I think about stuff, I actually get a moment to think about all these stuff with everything else in my life going on. I do have a life outside of it, and I could see them doing the same thing of dodging it. Man, dodge. Oh, you're going to double talk BS. This. Oh, well, you're going to tell me anyway. Well, why would I be calling the case manager? I don't know. Call the case manager and find out. I'm telling you, I'm learning how to just say stupid crap back to them. But really, if I'm saying, hey, discuss it with the case manager, I don't work for this company. I don't, this insurance or this doctors or whatever. I don't work for them. I'm the patient, not an employee. I'm so sick of being treated like I'm an employee and a bad one that they have to chastise. Do you know who you're chastising? But no, I told him, he said, that's a good idea. Yeah, just speak to the case manager. But I think he and I both know we're not young people. He's older than I. We've experienced these things. We have a clue. And I'm a social and behavioral scientist. He's an electrical engineer, but hey, difference. He just retired. Be 2 years soon. And no, that's what I'm gonna do. I've decided if they tried to do all these weird things back and forth, or even if she says something like no, apparently doesn't mean no anymore. Not with doctors. Not when they're wanting to make some money, big bucks. Like one of them is one doctor, one specialty. They wanted that every time I go in, they have their own machines that every time, and they're trying to get about visits a year when they don't need this many visits a year. There's one right there. They want to get about 6, I'd say, visits a year in, which is billed to the insurance, you know. But each time they want to do each time they have their own machines. They want to do these each time. And those are only supposed to be done, even with somebody, if they have any, I guess you could call them symptoms. They're only supposed to be done maybe once or twice a year. And that's what this one woman had told me stuff about. But they're doing it one after another, after another, after another. 2 things that these doctors keep doing, or did, until they informed me. Now, if they informed them, that would be great. You know, but one of them suggested, I think it's more than one, like I said, and I don't think they're all called case managers. I don't think they're calling case managers at all. I don't know what it is, but there's more than one. And she suggested I tell them. I just mentioned it to him, is what she said. I said, I really don't like that. I don't work for you. I don't say you, I say the name of it. I'm trying not to say that, and it's starting to rain, so I better pull up my SUV and get out, because last time Adam come out as usual. That's an as usual, with a umbrella. It was so sweet, but at the same time, it was like, dude, it was pouring down, man. But anyway, so we'll see. But as far as our storm this morning, you know, every time I talk about storms and lightning and thunder and all that, I say, oh, it was worse that we've ever seen. Well, Adam walked into the room I was in. It had been going on for a while. And he said, this has to be the worst storm we've ever had, ever. You know, the short version is this. And I had said the same. He said, but we've had this kind of lightning bad before. You know, it's so close and so the thunder so loud. And he said, but it just keeps going on. And it did for a few hours. Then something never happened before for us. Like I'd say 2 or 3 hours in it, we got a text. You know, not a text, but a pop-up or whatever it is. You know, they put on your phone and our phones, and said basically to make that brief, it says shelter in place. Seriously, it was that bad. To shelter in place. Do not go out. Do not attempt to travel. Do not attempt to go anywhere. Shelter in place. Okay, so yeah. I mean, and it just kept going. It was so scary. I mean, I don't get scared anymore. You know, I'm a grown adult, and I don't think Adam does either. Our dogs get kind of crazy. One of them, the laser-focused one, the older one, he goes mutt case, as I call it, mutt case on it. He did, man. He was so angry at that thunder. Oh, it's unbelievable. So we had to hear all that, him barking like crazy, and it was bad. And I hear the thunder, and I don't want to be out here if it does like it did again. And I actually, at one point, I went and found Adam in the other part of the house with the dogs, and he was outside in the garage smoking a cigarette. And I went and found him, and I said, "Did our house just get hit by lightning?" Yeah, that I'm not a dramatic person, believe me. And Adam just shrugged. So when he came later on to find me, he said something about this. We've had, started that. I just shrugged, and he started laughing because, yeah, I showed him, this is how it sounds when you do that. I mean, it was bad. But anyway, I'm going to wrap it up.